Okay, now I'm at the end of round 23, and you'll see that the instructions for round 24 say knit 5. Hopefully that's because you can see at the moment where our needles are, we're in the middle of the back. If we knit the next 5 stitches, we are then going to end at the edge of one of the toes. Right, the pattern then is all worked. We've knitted the last 5 and we've come to the end of the pattern, and now we're ready to do the bind off. So for a 3 needle bind off, what we will do is we will put all these stitches on this side of the stocking on one needle, and all the stitches on the other side of the stocking on another needle. So then you'll have just 2 needles, and we'll use a third to knit the stitches from both needles together and cast them off. But we don't want to do that on this side of the stocking because we'll get a slightly unsightly ridge at our toe. What we want to do is to turn the stocking inside out and work it on the inside, so that the ridge will be on the inside and the outside will look much neater. Clearly, it's going to be quite tricky to get all those needles through that hole to turn it inside out. So what we're going to do instead is get some waste yarn. In this case, I'm going to use some of the red that's left. And then we're going to thread it onto a darning needle and put our stitches on the thread so that we can turn it inside out. So I shall just start here on one side of the toe and just start slipping my stitches onto the yarn like that. When all the stitches are on your yarn, you can just unthread the needle and turn your stocking inside out like this. If you can get your wool through the gap at the end of the stocking, that will make life a little bit easier as well. Okay, so we're inside out. We've got the needles on the yarn, the stitches on the yarn, and we can see here is our first stitch because that's attached to the end. So what we want to do is to get one of our double pointed needles, and we've now got 20 stitches. So what we're going to do is slip the first 10 onto the DPN like this. So that's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then we're going to put the remaining 10 on a second double pointed needle. You can pull the red yarn out, the waste yarn out as you go round if that's easier. I'm hopefully going to get these through and then pull it out at the end. The stitches are a bit tight there because I've pulled them, but hopefully we can pick them up. So that's 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, come on, and there is number 10. Right, so if I now grab the yarn at this end, I should be able to slide it out. Like that. Great. So now I've got 10 stitches on each of the needles, and I have the yarn here. So I get a third needle for my 3 needle bind off. If I push both sets of stitches towards the end of those 2 needles, I then want to put the third needle into a stitch from the front needle and from the back needle, and then I want to knit those 2 stitches together. So I make sure the needle comes out through both stitches and slide them off at the same time. And I repeat that for a second stitch, into one, into the second, wrap, pull it out through both. and then I've got 2 stitches here, and I just want to take one of these needles and simply cast off one over the other, and then I repeat. Knit another stitch from the 2 together like that, and then remember to go back and perform the cast off, and that's it. Right, bind off is done. I've got 1 stitch left on the needle, so I just cut the end of my yarn, thread that through the last stitch, pull it tight, and then I just need to turn my stocking the right way around, take that stitch marker off, and there it is. There's your toe, and there you can see where the bind off is at the very end. All done.